What's the fastest you've ever seen a marriage end? My aunt was once married for a few hours during the reception. Her husband took all of the cards and the gifts disappeared and wasn't seen again for years. Supposedly, he said he was going to put everything in the car, but loaded up the car and drove off to another state that evening, and that was it. Officially, I want to say, she had it annulled within a week, but unofficially, you could say that the marriage was over after 6 to 7 hours. Poor woman, was she okay, or completely blindsided by the sudden and abrupt abandonment? 2 hours this happened in India. My friend got married. Everyone sat down to eat, and he had an epileptic fit. He hasn't had one in 10 plus years, but it happened at the most unfortunate moment. What's worse, the bride didn't know anything about his past. With epilepsy, she freaked out. So did her parents, and after a few pointy but polite words exchanged, it was over. It was all over, and the bridal party left the venue by the time the groom recovered from his seizure and was able to look around and understand where he was and what was happening. P.S. He married someone else a year later, and she's an amazing person, and they made an awesome couple, and they have 2 amazing kids together. A good friend of mine got married at a lovely cabin in rural Northern California, owned by a friend of the bride. Wedding was great. Wife stayed behind to help clean up the next day and immediately slept with the owner. Divorce followed a month later when he found out. People suck sometimes. Hope your friend is happy. Mine remarried an incredibly kind and smart person, and they have 2 adorable children who I contemplate stealing every time I visit. Damn, this guy married a cheater and is good friends with a kidnapper. Not the best judge of character, apparently. Ha 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 ha, point taken. To be fair, I have not actually stolen them, just contemplated a lot. If you do it, we won't tell. My mother-in-law's husband cheated on her on their wedding night, or rather during their wedding reception, with her cousin. She found out before the wedding was over, and he told her that he just wanted to see if hairy women were as good as the rumors. Not sure it qualifies for this though, because she stayed with him until he abandoned her and her daughter a year later. Divorced a year after that, came back 14 years later and remarried my mother-in-law, then divorced 3 years after that. What in the hell? If hairy women were as good as the rumors? And then she stayed with him? Yikes. My dad is a photographer and did a fair share of weddings. He did one about 10 years ago on a Saturday, and then got a call on Monday that the bride had killed herself, and the family wanted all of the pictures unedited and immediately. He sent everything he had and returned payment right then and there. It was really, really sad. My own, within 3 months. We got married, and it was like a complete 180 degrees. Turns out his ex-girlfriend reached out to him around the same time, and he still had feelings for her. I found out because she messaged me on Facebook with the screenshots of their texts. He had promised to leave me if she'd get back with him. She agreed, so we divorced. She never got back with him. A coworker got married, shared his wife's nudes on WhatsApp story the same night while she was asleep. His wife left him the next day and filed for divorce a few days later. He ended up quitting the job. I hope she filed a civil suit against him for revenge porn. That's absolutely horrible. I guess it's not revenge porn, but some other form of sex crime? Non-consensual sharing of intimate images is probably the best general term, which would include revenge porn as a subset of the general term, plus intent to do it with malice and in retaliation for some perceived wrong, usually breakup. In a lot of jurisdictions, it is not legally a crime if the images were initially obtained with consent. Right now in the US, legal protection varies heavily from state to state. Some states have laws specifically to address this issue. Some have older laws that can be used to address this issue, even though the laws weren't designed with the internet in mind. And a handful of states have basically no protection at all. When he said, "I guess so," instead of "I do," we all knew this wasn't going to last. It didn't. Had a mate as a teenager that dropped off the face of the earth when he got his first proper girlfriend. Like, basically never saw nor heard from him again. The only way we knew he was still alive was from chatting to his parents that we'd see in the pub, etc. Fast forward about 7 years, I get a text inviting me to a stag do and a wedding from my long-lost friend. Went on the stag do, and he was marrying that same first girlfriend. At the wedding, there was a weird vibe, and she seemed pissed off about something. 2 weeks later, I see him in the pub in a bad way, having not seen him out since we were teenagers. We got talking, and he spilled his guts that his marriage was over. His wife had cheated on him on her hen do, after they'd been rocky for years. They were hoping the marriage would save things. She then proceeded to cheat on him with this lad, got pregnant. The lad dumped her, and she went back to my mate, admitted it, and he looked after her while she went through an abortion. One day soon after, he came home to a note saying, "I can't do this anymore. Don't try to contact me. Don't try to talk to my family. I'll be in touch when I'm ready to sort all the money stuff out." They lived in his house. She drove a car he paid for. Turns out she's gone straight back to the guy she cheated with and got pregnant again. Still with him and has 2 kids now. My buddy ended up selling his house at a loss to pay her out, and she kept the car he bought her in the divorce. Really wrecked him and took him a couple of years to get back on his feet. Jesus Christ! If that had happened to me, I'd have been down for at least half a decade! How the fuck do you begin to heal from that level of fuckery? He has a new partner, baby, and house now. It's taken him a few years, but he's bounced back. 12 hours! They argued about the wedding cake and never spoke again. Dear Prudence, a number of years ago, had one where the bride asked for an immediate, hours, 1 day annulment because the groom smashed cake in her face after she had explicitly, repeatedly, over the weeks leading up to the wedding, told him that was a deal breaker. 2 days. American bride met Australian groom in Australia, but both wanted to live in the US, so bride gets job and buys house in US, while groom works on his visa. It takes about 8 months for groom to finish all the paperwork, but during that time, bride meets and starts a sexual relationship with a coworker. As time gets closer to her fiancé's arrival, bride gets increasingly emotionally unstable. Groom arrives and must marry bride within a few days' time. They get married on a Sunday. Bride is now completely unstable and an emotional wreck. 2 days later on Tuesday, she demands an annulment, tells the groom she's been sleeping with and loves her coworker. Groom is completely blindsided and devastatingly heartbroken and flies back to Australia the next day. Bride is now even more crazy, crying loudly all day for several days at work because she realized she broke a good man's heart who loved her immensely. Boyfriend realizes he doesn't actually care for her that much, having zero patience for crazy, so dumps her soon after. I hope the groom realized quickly how lucky he is to not be married to her. They got married at 11 a.m. The reception started at 6 p.m. The bride was caught fucking her ex in the bathroom at about 7:15 p.m. So, 8 hours and change. Around 2 months. My friend was dating a guy for approximately 6 years and got married, then found one of his drug stash, started searching around their house and found another 3 or 4. Dude was hiding them like a squirrel lol. She blocked all funds and filed a divorce immediately. I'm happy that she filed not after 10 years of marriage, but still curious how she didn't find out that her boyfriend was on cocaine for 6 years. Cocaine squirrel. Don't forget to tell us about your marriage stories in the comments. Check out our other videos, and we'll see you next time.